Well, I teach nutrition, which is a gen ed, a general education course, so assessment is required. We're kind of just babies in the assessment process. We've just gone through two cycles of assessment. And right now what we're working on is an embedded test question in the final exam that all of the instructors, adjunct and I'm the only full-time, give in the nutrition course. Well, I think it actually kind of changed how we were teaching. We initially sat down to figure out what learning outcome we wanted to focus on. And I told the adjuncts, you know, what is the most important thing that you want students, if they come out with nothing else in this class, what is the most important thing they should come out with? And it was unanimous that it should be the differentiate between reliable and unreliable, in our case, nutrition information. But we really hadn't been doing a good job of teaching that, which we discovered when we went through the first cycle. It became apparent that we really weren't focusing on that enough. And at the time we had a different textbook, and that textbook really didn't address it hardly at all. So we have a new textbook this semester which does go into, or last semester, I'm sorry, it was the first semester we used it, which does go into more detail. And we also are using more assignments. I set up within our learning management system, Desire to Learn, I set up a community for our nutrition instructors where we could share resources. And so there is a greater emphasis on that. I teach online that class, and I have started throughout the discussion, started prompting students a little bit more in terms of where did you get that information? Can you back that information up? So I think it's really changed how we teach, basically. Developing the assessment itself was actually a huge thing. We initially started with an assignment, and that was difficult because I teach online, so the assignment was online, and about half of my students just chose to not do it. So I ended up with very high scores after our first run-through, because obviously the students that maybe would not have scored so well on that just simply didn't do it. One of the adjuncts did it in class, and one of them used it as a take-home assignment. And so, you know, the results were, as one would expect, the in-class assignments scores were significantly lower than the other ones. So we changed it after going to one of the assessment brownie breaks. We changed it to actually put it in the final exam, and rather than be that way there's not an option in terms of taking it home, everybody's kind of on the same page. And we actually made up like not a case study, but a website that we took information from and kind of tweaked it, and then had 5 questions on that. And learning from that, it's still 3 of the 5 questions are okay, but 2 of the questions are just not good questions. And so I think really the struggle has been coming up with a really good mechanism to really do the assessment. And because I'm the only full-time one, it's difficult because we don't have a time that we're naturally gathering together. So I'm trying to do a lot of stuff via email with the adjuncts, and so that's been a struggle. Well, we have 2 new adjuncts this semester, so we now have 3 adjuncts. Last semester we had 2 adjuncts, and they were both absolutely wonderful, very willing to work. It's going to be a little bit more challenging now that we have more. And our adjuncts are all parents with children, and they have other lives, so scheduling is difficult. But I have found that, you know, and maybe it's because we are all registered dietitians in the field of food and nutrition, that food tends to work pretty well as a draw for bringing the adjuncts in. And it is difficult, quite honestly, because they're not getting paid for their time. So it's just a matter of getting their buy-in that this is really an important thing to do, I think is really the most important thing. Just dive in and do it. You know, it's very daunting at first, but we basically are assessing all the time anyway. This is really just formalizing what we do. You know, and I'm sure most instructors do this, you know, you have your syllabus, and each semester you look at that syllabus and you go, yeah, that one didn't work out so well, or oh yeah, that assignment was great. And basically that's what assessment is. We're just formalizing what we're already doing.